With the fourth pick in the 2009 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Tyreke Evans from the University of Memphis.
There is a lot of reason to believe that Tyreke Evans, if not now, will be the best of all these point guards in 3 years.
Just announced that Tyreke Evans has been dismissed from the NBA for violating the anti-drug policy.
There's a stat in NBA history that only 4 rookies have ever achieved. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in your first year. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Oscar Robertson. And then Tyreke Evans. Yeah, Tyreke Evans. And chances are you haven't thought about him in years. He wasn't a flash-in-the-pan role player. He wasn't some G League legend. This man was the NBA's Rookie of the Year in a class with Stephen Curry, James Harden, and DeMar DeRozan. And then he vanished. No farewell tour, no devastating injury, no real explanation. One day he was dropping 25 and 7 on national TV, and the next, he was banned from the NBA. Dismissed, disqualified, disappeared. The league released one statement and walked away. Tyreke never told his side. Most fans just forgot. But his story, it's one of the strangest and most heartbreaking in modern basketball. Because Tyreke Evans wasn't just good. He was built to dominate the league. A 6'6" point guard with the strength of a forward, the handle of a 2 guard, and the confidence of a future superstar. For one season, just one, he looked like the next great guard. But buried beneath the stats was a career defined by confusion, mismanagement, and missed opportunities. And then, finally, a mistake that cost him everything. This is the story of the NBA star who disappeared overnight. And to understand how it all ended so suddenly, you have to understand how it began. Because before he was a ghost, Tyreke Evans was a prodigy. Chester, Pennsylvania, just outside Philly, one of the most dangerous cities in America per capita. It's where Tyreke Evans was raised, in a home full of brothers, basketballs, and survival instincts. He wasn't just playing to win, he was playing to get out. By 13, he was already 6 feet tall and moving like a guard. By 16, he was cooking grown men in Philly gyms with a natural feel that couldn't be topped. But it wasn't just the highlights, it was the calm. Tyreke never looked rushed, never looked rattled. It was like the game moved slower for him. At American Christian Academy, he dropped 32 points a night and looked like the reincarnation of Penny Hardaway. His crossover was brutal. His first step was unguardable. His frame? Built for the league. Scouts showed up. So did legends. LeBron called him a young beast. Melo flew in to watch him play. Kobe asked about him at Team USA camp. He wasn't just the best guard in the country. He was one of the best players, period. And with cameras rolling at the All-American game, the stage was set. Tyreke Evans was supposed to be next. John Calipari was still riding the wave from the Derrick Rose experiment. Memphis was coming off a 38-win season and a national title game appearance. And when Tyreke committed, the Tigers got something they didn't expect. Not just a flashy recruit, but a floor general. But it didn't start smoothly. Tyreke came in as a shooting guard, but struggled. Turnovers, bad shots, out of rhythm. After a few weeks, Calipari made a bold move. He shifted Tyreke to point guard full-time, and everything clicked. From that point forward, Memphis ran through opponents. Evans averaged 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and the Tigers went on a 27-game win streak. He controlled the tempo, he dictated every possession, and for the first time, scouts whispered a dangerous word: unstoppable. He didn't just rise up the draft boards, he took over them. In a year dominated by big men and uncertainty, Tyreke felt like a lock. The size, the poise, the swagger. He declared after one season. And when David Stern called his name at number 4 overall, Sacramento thought they found their savior. But the real test came next, when college coaches lined up with promises. Only one offered him the keys. You know how rare it is to average 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists as a rookie? Before Tyreke Evans, it had happened just 3 times in NBA history. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson. That's it. And in 2009, Tyreke Evans joined them. He wasn't eased into the NBA, he kicked the door down. Right out the gate, he dropped 26 points on Steve Nash. Weeks later, 32 on Dwayne Wade. The Kings were rebuilding, but their rookie gave fans hope. He was smooth, strong, smart. He had the ball in his hands every possession, and he delivered. He played like a 10-year vet trapped in a 19-year-old's body. The league took notice. Evans won Rookie of the Year over Stephen Curry and James Harden, both future MVPs. He made All-Rookie First Team. He was getting LeBron comps on national TV. And Kings fans, they thought they finally had their guy. The curse was over. But this is the part in every story where things seem too good to be true. Because for Tyreke Evans, this was the peak, and it came in year 1. What followed was a slow unraveling. And it started with something you can't measure in a box score: confusion. After a rookie season that hinted at greatness, you'd expect Tyreke Evans to keep climbing. Instead, everything got muddy. He came back in year 2 with new expectations and new problems. The Kings couldn't decide what position he was. Some nights he ran the offense, other nights he was pushed off the ball. One coach wanted him as a lead guard, the next saw him as a wing. And while that might not sound like a big deal, for a player like Tyreke, role meant everything. He wasn't a pure shooter, he wasn't a traditional point, he was best when the offense ran through him. But the Kings, an unstable franchise constantly reshuffling coaches, lineups, and front office plans, took that away. And then came the injuries. He started battling plantar fasciitis, one of the most frustrating injuries in basketball. It doesn't always sideline you, but it slows you. And when your first step is your superpower, slowing down is career death. His numbers dropped, his efficiency dipped, and that buzz, the one that followed him since high school, started to fade. By the end of his rookie contract, Tyreke wasn't the next big thing anymore. He was just another player trying to figure out what went wrong. And as Sacramento moved on, Tyreke looked for a fresh start. In 2013, Tyreke signed a 4-year, $44 million deal with the New Orleans Pelicans. This was supposed to be the comeback, a chance to reset, to play alongside Anthony Davis, and finally be used the right way. And for a while, it worked. In his second season with the Pelicans, Tyreke averaged 17.6 points, 6.6 assists, and 5.3 rebounds. He was finally healthy. He had the ball in his hands again. He wasn't just efficient, he was in control. He played some of the smartest basketball of his career. Mid-range jumpers off glass, slick pick-and-roll reads, power drives through contact. It was vintage Tyreke, just in a different jersey. And yet, the Pelicans never fully clicked. The roster was awkward. Davis was still developing. Drew Holiday was in and out of the lineup. Eric Gordon was injured. The fit was fine, but it wasn't ideal. Still, Tyreke kept producing until the injuries came back, this time to his knee. Surgeries piled up, games missed, momentum gone. By the time the Pelicans made their brief playoff run in 2015, Tyreke was laboring, and New Orleans quietly moved on. What should have been the next chapter in his breakout arc became another detour. But just when it seemed like his best years were behind him, Tyreke Evans found something in Memphis. It's 2017. Tyreke Evans signs a 1-year deal with Memphis, the team he was once traded to as filler. Nobody expects much. He's 28, he's missed chunks of multiple seasons, the league has moved on, but Tyreke hasn't. And in one of the quietest comeback seasons in recent memory, he turns back the clock. He averages 19.4 points, 5.2 assists, and 5.1 rebounds, shooting better from 3 than ever before. He's stronger, smarter, calmer, and playing off the bench. Night after night, he torches second units. The Grizzlies don't win much, they're rebuilding, but Tyreke shines. He drops 32 against the Wizards, 27-9 against the Clippers, back-to-back 20-point games on the road. He doesn't look like a role player. He looks like a starter again, maybe more. And just like that, teams start calling. There's real interest at the trade deadline. Some contenders want him. The Grizzlies hold him out of games expecting to deal him. But no trade happens, and after the season, the buzz fades. Still, for 1 year, Tyreke Evans earned his name back. And then, right when it looked like the league had finally reopened its doors, they slammed shut. May 17, 2019. The NBA releases a single statement. The NBA announced today that Tyreke Evans has been dismissed and disqualified from the league for violating the terms of the NBA and NBPA anti-drug program. No details, no interviews, no farewell, just gone. In an era where every off-court story becomes a 24/7 news cycle, Tyreke Evans vanished in a paragraph. And this wasn't a suspension, it was a ban. Dismissed and disqualified is the league's most severe punishment, reserved for players who violate the policy in ways they don't publicize. No appeal, 2-year minimum, reinstatement not guaranteed. Tyreke had just finished a season with the Pacers, averaging 10 points in a playoff run. He wasn't a star anymore, but he was still valuable, still skilled, still in the league. And then, nothing. He wasn't arrested, he didn't test positive for PEDs, the details were sealed. The NBA never said more. Tyreke never addressed it publicly. And for the fans who grew up watching him, there was no closure, no final moment, just silence. What hurts the most is the timing. He wasn't old, he wasn't washed, he was just 29. The league had space for him, but it didn't have a second chance. And just like that, the player who once stood shoulder to shoulder with LeBron, MJ, and Oscar was no longer in the game. There's always that one player in every era, the guy who had everything: size, skill, flash, numbers, but never got the full story. Tyreke Evans was that player. Some blamed his attitude, others blamed his health. But the truth is more complicated. He needed stability, a coach who believed in his game, a front office that saw his positionless style as a weapon, not a problem. If Tyreke came into the league 5 years later in today's pace and space era, he might have been a star. He was 6'6" with a downhill first step, great vision, and could bully mismatches all game. In a world that celebrates players like Shea, Halliburton, and Giddey, Tyreke could have been right there. But his moment came too soon, and then ended too fast. What we're left with is a rookie stat line that echoes with greatness, and a career that slipped into the shadows. Tyreke Evans didn't lose his talent. He lost the time. And in the NBA, time is everything. He entered the league as one of the most gifted guards we'd ever seen. And in just one season, he earned a seat at the table with the greatest. But talent alone was never enough. Between the injuries, the confusion, and the silence, Tyreke's story became one of potential left unexplored. No farewell tour, no final game, no standing ovation. Just one line in a press release, and a name that faded from the conversation. But if you were there, if you watched him tear through defenders in 2009, if you remember that game winner against Memphis, if you saw flashes of greatness that couldn't be coached, then you remember who Tyreke Evans really was. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.